Great. Okay, we today I wanted to use this time because it's coming to the end of our introduction and the last presentation. I would like to take some hymns and to show you this unity, idea of unity. And today I wanted to speak on the darker forces, anti-divine forces, and also on the rishis, different families of rishis, so that we have an idea what they are and what they represent for us.
Vladimir, you also said that you will go into the Devyana and Pitriyana.
Oh yeah, okay, Devayana and Pitriyana. Yes, we can do also that. Yes, it's always possible. We can do this on the last day, and we
Okay.
touch upon. Yeah, we will split it into two halves, Devayana Pitriyana, because it is actually a holistic vision, yeah, of the Veda, and the hymns of unity, and especially the last hymn of message. I want to go deeper into it.
Nice.
Okay, so I will project it, unless you have some other ideas.
No, this would be great. Thank you.
You can always change things, yeah, because there is so much material that one can go any possible way. Yeah, I'm used to this already. It's not my first course on the Rig Veda, and there are many ways of dealing with this material. So today I wanted to touch upon this topic which is not very favorable to anyone, anti-divine forces, and their role in the spiritual fulfillment. I added when Robin suggested this, this was a good idea, that they are needed, that they are pushing us to distinguish the light, to see the brightness of the light more. The darkness is needed, yeah. The darker is the night, the brighter is the dawn. So we have some spiritual utility for these forces. And as you know, the mother says herself that they are allowed to act only for one reason, to push forward the whole evolution of consciousness. Otherwise, they would not be there. Why should they be there? So, what they do not allow us to fall asleep and to build our comfort zone to the extent that we don't want to move forward, to progress. So, they come and remind us that we are not perfect. They're constantly reminding, pushing us, showing us how imperfect we are, that the new perfection can go through and reach to the surface, and finally we move ahead. Yes, it's quite obvious that they have this major role. Otherwise, why should they be there at all? Mm, Maybe divine would deal with them differently, but it allows them to come and to help us to move forward. If you look at the world today, you will see this very clearly. So, especially this war, Russia, Ukraine, everybody says now in Ukraine that Putin helped Ukraine to to rise to the highest possible consciousness, yeah, because they were so mediocre, so down to earth, so in their own, comfort zone. Nobody wants to move out of that comfort zone, and that is the problem of the whole evolution. Yeah, we are um, we are tempted to build our own harmonious world in this imperfect framework, and stay within it as long as we can. And we can see this in the West, by the way, why the West was pushed again forward by Ukrainian war, and Ukraine now is a leader of the democratic world, because other countries fell asleep totally. The whole Europe is sleepy, drowsy, ready to compromise with all kinds of forces to keep up with their own privileges, with their own position, whatever they achieved, they want to benefit from it. Yeah? But you cannot. The moment you start doing it, you fall back and you kind of regress instead of progress. Progress demands more daring spirit. And Schumacher even says this about the West. It's quite interesting. In the West, he says that he is still looking for that answer whether Western culture and Western civilization would accept moving forward or not. If they are too much satisfied with their own achievements and their comforts, that they may refuse to progress. And that would create the whole disaster because they will fall back. And she gives an example of the African civilization. It is in agenda, by the way. She speaks about this. That she says that in Africa there was a highly civilized society before, culture, but they got satisfied with what they achieved, and slowly they started to degrade to the animal level. When the spirit refuses to progress, it falls back to the animal level. So he is putting into question the whole Western civilization, whether the soul will agree to progress or to regress, or to stay within its own comfort zone. And this is staying in its zone. It means falling back. And for this, the anti-divine forces are the greatest remedy. They will come and remind you that look where you are and what you are in reality. So, and then you see that you are far away from the perfection and you want to perfect yourself and your society and relationships and so on. See, such a long introduction to such a topic because we need to see their place and role. Otherwise, it looks like they are only negative. Yes, they are very negative, but that's the good thing. So if you look at the creation, I made these long ago, these sketches. So heaven and earth were one, and then they got split. This is the oldest Indo-European myth. They got split. Heaven became the upper part, the earth the lower. The upper part golden, the lower silver, and in between there was antariksham. Antariksham, a crack. And so the Agni, the fire which cracked heaven and earth, became triple fire. Agni, the essence of earth, Surya, the essence of heaven. Agni is fire, Surya is sun, and Vayu is the essence of Antariksha. It's another fire. Vayu is also a fire. It is a prana, pranic energy. Well, it's also very good for our sleeping courses, I see, because it will explain us what we are really dreaming about. Yeah. So once this golden egg, got cracked, and the upper part became heaven and the lower earth and its space in between, so to say, manifestation came into being. This was floating on the waters of the inconscient as one, and then it got cracked. So what are these two, higher and lower? These heaven and earth, these two firmaments, Rhoda sea, two luminous firmaments, as it is translated, two shining foundations. Oh, sorry, it's just disturbing. Wait a minute. two shining foundations, because in the highest creation they are one and the same, heaven and earth. Yes, as Sri Aurobindo says, equal and one in Savitri. So we are looking for this, for their unity of the consciousness and force of heaven and earth. So they got split, separated. There is a space in between. So that crack creates time and space. And that Vayu, notice how I uh, project it here, or how I show it here, is that Vayu has one connection on Earth and then goes up, up, up as a spiral and doesn't reach heaven. And from heaven, another foot goes down, down, down to Earth, but doesn't reach Earth. But in between, this kind of tension or this energy field is created. It's a real energy field, yeah, which is creating prana. So one foot on the Earth and other on heaven. So, and together they create this field. And this field is our pranic energy. And few things more. I have to say that Earth becomes our physical consciousness and heaven becomes our mental consciousness. Sri Aurobindo speaks about these, heaven and earth, as physical and mental consciousness. And in between we have that vital consciousness. Now, when we are dreaming, it's about our course. So we are dreaming, we are in this world of Vayu, actually. This is the realm in which we receive all influences. So we are trying to either wake up, to go back to the physical consciousness, which is our protection, or to go, or to have very strong mental foundation, which will help us to figure out what is going on and not to be bewildered by the nightmares or the forces which are coming. Yeah? So these two have to be there. Once they are disturbed, we become kind of, mentally disturbed. That's why we call this mental illnesses, mental hospital, because when the mind is drifting, then you can't control these forces. Yeah? Or the physical is disturbed, for example, brain is damaged, is the same problem. So either physical or mental is disturbed, so you are disturbed in the vital realm. So it is important because, yeah.
I'm not being able to keep up.
Yes, sure,
I
sir.
and I actually I was caught up in that dream thing where you said in dreaming we are in Vayu,
In
and then
Antariksha, yeah.
in the Antariksha, which is Vayu.
Yeah, Vayu is the fire. Actually, it's the divine representative, the energy, the pranic energy,
Mhm.
which is yeah, in which we have our form, our consciousness, yeah? Our
Pranic.
body,
Yeah.
pranic body.
Yes. And then we try to go back to the physical, or I didn't understand.
Yes, when we have nightmares, what do we try to do? We try
Okay.
to wake up, definitely.
Yes.
I do this all the time. That's
Yes.
why I can't sleep. The moment something dangerous, I wake up. Yeah? So
Mhm.
I rush to the fortress. This is a fortress.
Mhm.
These two are our shell, let us say, like a
Mhm.
nutshell, yes, which cracked, and
Mhm.
which is holding soul safely in. There is the whole hymn of Agastya Rishi to heaven and earth, where he says all the time, refrain, heaven and earth protect us from the abyss. And now I'm coming to the abyss, next slide. So
Okay.
this abyss, a superconscious ocean and inconscient ocean, are coming through Antariksha into our nutshell. Yeah? They don't come through heaven or through earth. They come through the Vayu world, through the Antariksha world.
Mhm.
The crack is there. So they cannot come through the mind or through the physical if they are healthy. If they are unhealthy, they can disturb them, but again, only through this crack. Yeah? All
Mhm.
the forces are trying to possess us through this crack. Makes sense, no?
Yes.
So to say, the top, we are blocked here on the top. I will speak about this blockage also in the heaven. Our mental is clogged, closed. We have a ceiling. We have also physical ceiling below. We cannot go through the physical down. There is nowhere to go. If we want to go below the physical, we have to go to Antariksha and from there enter into the below. And if you see how Sri Aurobindo arranges um, his second book, The World of the Traveler of the Worlds, before he comes into night, the descent into night, he rises above. He moves
Correct.
up, and then boom, he goes into night.
Yes, I always wondered. I always wondered why he did that. Suddenly there's a descent.
Yeah, and this is the answer. Why?
I
You
see.
cannot go through the physical down. You have to go to the vital world to go down. Yeah. So all the negative, all the below underground forces, even dangerous ones, come through this. All these darker forces will come from here. All the lighter gods forces, which are connecting us to the higher superconscious ocean, will come from there too. And there, here is the battlefield. Or Vayu Pavamana is called Yajna, the sacrifice. Here, that transformation is taking place. The battlefield of the armies of the light forces and dark forces. They clash, as Shubinda says, fighting for our soul as costly prize. So here we are. This our soul is somewhere there behind, but it is kept in safely within this nutshell. This mental and physical are our protectors. They're holding us sane. If they are removed, we become insane totally, because these forces we cannot handle. We are not
That,
strong enough yet in our psychic. We are
that
not
is why
strong enough.
that is why, Vladimir, in the Antariksha, which you're saying is vital, there's lower vital and higher vital.
Yeah.
So you see people with the lower vital definitely getting disturbed and sinking, going right into the inconscience, and the higher vital people who are practicing the integral yoga and who are spiritually uplifted, they rise towards the superconscious. So
Yeah, in the vital also the yes, yeah, how higher influence and lower influence on the vital. Absolutely. If you look at this, you will see that even I will go here, even here, you will see that these are for the Vedic understanding of the gods is important. Here, for example, if you look at this, you will see that this antariksha is very complex in a way. It's not just if superconscious and inconscient ocean are entering, you can imagine what is happening there, how many layers upon layers can be taken. Yeah. So within there is a swar world, then there is vijnana, then there is even higher transcendental. So antariksha leads us into the depth of our consciousness. Yeah. This heaven and earth is the surface only. It's somewhere there on the surface. So Antariksha opens another Antariksha, Svar, which connects us, our world, to the supermind. Then supermind itself is a connection between us and transcendental Satchitananda. Yeah? So you see that kind of, it's very difficult to draw it in two dimensions, this multidimensional reality, but it gives you a kind of a sense how these forces are acting here. So why they are coming in from below and from above, and from what levels they can come. Yeah? So there are many levels from which they can come. Um, But the moment our psychic is strong enough, this becomes not a problem at all for us. Psychic can handle all the forces, yeah, support the higher forces and hit the lower forces, recognize them at least, fight with them. Yeah, makes sense, yeah. So we are the constitution of these two powers constantly fighting within us. We constantly have this inner dialogue, either to be selfish, selfish means these forces, yeah, or uh, to be supporting the progress and development and light, and these are these forces.
To be selfless.
To be selfless, to be selfish, or to be selfless. Here we are. The dilemma is constantly there. Should I be selfless? Should I be selfish? No, I must be selfish now because they will eat me up, yes, as a food. And I don't want to be eaten up by somebody, by some rascals. They're not, if they would be all nice people, I would give myself as food to them, but they are not nice enough for me to be the food for them. So here we have this constant, ongoing. It is actually, we are not speaking or thinking about anything else about ourselves, only these two, because these are two major influences on our being. So for our course in sleep, I thought these two are important. Mental health, strong
Yeah.
mind, very good, well-developed, flexible, recognizing things, and physical health. Yeah, if physical is weak, tired, damaged, whatever, sick, it creates for these forces a possibility to come in. And that's why they want us sick. They want us to be, also not steady in the mind. They are constantly bringing doubts, fears. It's their entries through doubts and fears. Yeah, we start doubting, we start fearing, and we are immediately taken by them.
Mm.
So here they are, these anti-divine forces. I made a small list. Asuras, Ahis, Amhas, Abhva, these are the names from the Rig Veda. Asuras, yes, that is the same as in post-Vedic. But in the Vedas, Asuras are, in the Rig Veda at least, the Asura is actually a positive being. It is not Asura, as it is later known as without light, but Asu, Vishotu, Asura. And Asura is from Asu. Asu is the word from root as, to be. So the one who has the power to be. It's a powerful being. Yes? So Agni, Varuna, Mitra, they are Indra, they are called Asuras. They are full of the power of being. So
But
later,
divine? Then why does it come under anti-divine?
yeah, because Asura with long O means without light, against light. Yeah? So it depends how you read this with Asura long O and Asura with short O. I'm just giving you a hint how it is in the Veda, because then you will be kind of bewildered why Agni is Asura. Yes, but he's Asura with Shotu, not with Asura, with long. In the later literature, in post-Vedic, they are not distinguished. Both with short and long U, they are considered to be anti-divine. So it's kind of, yeah. Sri Aurobindo brings light into it, by the way. If Sri Aurobindo would not be there, we would not even know about it. And we have Ahura Mazda, yes, it is from here, for that divine being, full of power of being. Yes, Jayashi, you want to say something?
No, I was saying yes to the Ahura Mazda, that, that is a god. as a divine being. So
Yeah, the greatest gods are called asuras in the Veda, actually. You know, the Adityas, for example. So Ahi Amhas from the same root to suffocate. Ahi is the python, a snake, yeah? And there are many Ahis. Even in Christian mythology, we have the snake, the dragon, is to be killed and so on. Amhas is the darkness or narrowness, something which suffocates us, narrows us down to the extent that we have no space to shine. So to say, our light is being suffocated until it disappears in the darkness. This is Amhas. And Abhva is the abyss, from Abhu, yeah, not to be, no becoming, no being. It's a total darkness. And there are more words like Nakta, Ratri, darkness, night. Yeah, but I'm not listing them here because it's not important. Then there is Diti and Dano. These are two names for the Divine Mother, the mother of evil and the sons of darkness, as you remember, the mother of evil. That is the canto of Sri Aurobindo's The Book of the Travel of the Worlds. So it is she, the mother of separative consciousness, Dano Diti. She has Danavas and Daityas and Dityas. These are her children. Here they are, Danavas and Daityas. And also Dasas and Dasyus. Dasa is a general word which means from root das, to separate, to cut off. Yeah. So cutting off those forces which are separating are actually anti-divine forces. Those forces which are uniting are the forces of the light. Light is uniting, darkness is separating. As simple as that. One should not be taken by these roots, because root da, also to give, is also to cut. Because when we give, we cut part of ourselves and separate it and give it as a part of ourselves away. This is giving. Yeah? If you give somebody else's wealth, that is not giving. If you give your own thing, your part of yourself, that's why everybody is so afraid of strings being attached to the gift. And in India, you cannot accept gift from people whom you do not know or who are not trustworthy. Why? Because strings are attached. So if you take somebody's part of his self, can you imagine? And it becomes part of you, then it disturbs you. It may even destroy you. So you have to be careful what gift, whose gift you accept. It's amazing, if you think of it deeper. We have an anecdote in Ukrainian. This is funny. Two friends, one presented to another friends the boots, and every time when he met him, he asked, "How are boots? Are they comfortable? Are they not creating trouble for your feet?" Every time, our boots. So one day that guy stopped, took off the boots behind him, and said, "Take off your boots." Enough is enough. This is called strings attached. I will remind you about me being in your life, in your boots. So funny. So this is da, to give, also to sacrifice, to give part of oneself, and thus you are doing cutting. There is another word, dashu, which is have positive meaning, also from the same root, which has a meaning of giving oneself to the divine. So giving, cutting, you see, the Veda does not distinguish between these. So Diti and Dano from the same Da root, to divide. Then we have Rakshasas and Vrikas. Rakshasas is the lower type. They are usually from root raksh, to protect. But it is a secondary meaning. First meaning is to scare away. Yeah. So you can see these Rakshasas in India on the lorries at the back. You see the something looking at you. Why? Because it wants to scare you away, that you don't bump into the lorry. There is a practicality. Or you see these Rakshasas at the corners of the temples also. They're scaring away evil spirits from the temple. So they are Rakshasas, you see. Scaring away means protecting. Vrika is the wolf, and the first meaning is the one who tears, from root vrij or vrash, either from the root, to tear apart, terror. And then Vrika as the wolf, yeah? So when Rishi says Vrika, he always remembers that it is a terror. These are also anti-divine, very clearly distinguished force. And then there are Vritras, Piprus, Shushnas, Shambaras, Namuchi, Urana. There are many different names. Vala, Panis, Yatus, Yatudhanas, Paishachas. So all of these, I will touch upon Vritra, Vala, and Panis in this presentation. And I want to show you something also important. This is Sri Aurobindo describes in the Vedic imagery how Ashwapati travels through night, which will give you a sense of what these forces are. Above was a chill, deaf eternity. In vague, tremendous passages of doom, he heard the goblin voice that guides to slay, and faced an enchantments of the demon sign, and traversed the ambush of the opponent snake eye, yeah? That python. In menacing tracts, in tortured solitude, companionless, he roamed through desolate ways where the red wolf, it's all from Vedic imagery, waits for the fordless stream, and death's black eagles scream to the precipice, and met the hounds of Baal who haunt man's heart. Hounds, these dogs of the wolf, baying across the welds of destiny in footless battlefields of the abyss, Abhava. Fought shadowy combats in mute eyeless depths, assaults of hell, endured and titan strokes, and bore the fierce inner wounds that are slow to heal. Titan strokes, these are asuras, they are titans. So what is interesting is that Sri Aurobindo's classification is a bit different somewhat. And he writes about this in his studies, in his notes for himself, as you remember. So Deva is, he says, is focused, I'm quoting him here, focused on vijnana, on something beyond the mind. It's exactly as in our this. So the Devas are bringing the forces which are coming from here, yes, from the superconscious ocean. They are all focused on that higher realm. Asuras is focused on buddhi. They are in their reason, actually. They're reasoning. That's why they're the most dangerous ones, because they always find some dogma, some proof. And you remember how the Lord of Death is talking to Savitri. He is a greatest philosopher and sophist. You can agree with every word he says. There is nothing you can disagree because he is really arguing well. Yeah? And sometimes I'm thinking, how could you argue against this? What could you say? And then I read what Savitri says, and it is such a relief. One has to read this. Rakshasa is focused on manas and chitta. Manas is the sense mind, and chitta is that subconscious storage of all our fears, all our reactions, all our memories, experiences. Pramatha, on the higher vital level, always distorts and mars the aesthetic qualities, makes them part of the lower desires. You can see this in advertisement, for example, how they bring all these elements of beauty, of art, to serve the lower needs. Paishachas of the lower vital. You know, Paishachas are usually those spirits which eat corpses and always with the lowest possible nomination. They are connected to sensuality, to the lower vital connected to the physical. Vanaras, animal vitality, in prana. Vanara means monkey actually. And Pashu, the beast or the domesticated animal, is focused always on food, as Sri Aurobindo says, on physical consciousness. So, and then he combines them in an amazing manner. He speaks about Deva Asura, a Deva Rakshasa, Asura Rakshasa, Asura Pramatha, Rakshasa Paishacha, Rakshasa Vanara, Pashu Asura. All combinations possible in this world, in different manvantaras. He gives an overview. It's an amazing story. I don't have time to really even dwell on it. But if you look at this, you will learn a thing. So this is just what he describes. Rakshasa Asura is Ravana. Asura Rakshasa is Hiranyakashipu. You know Hiranyakashipu and Ravana, definitely. And then he gives for different manvantaras. Pashu, his mind concentrated entirely on annam, on food. Vanara, mind concentrated on prana. Pishacha, mind concentrated on senses and the knowledge part of the chitta. The Pramatha, mind concentrated on the heart and emotional and aesthetic part of the chitta. The Rakshasa is mind concentrated on thinking, manas proper, and so on and so forth. I will not go through it because it's a lot for you and too many things new maybe, but I will leave you with the text and so you will study it if you want to. So each manvantara, look at this. This type is handed over to the third manvantara to fulfill, or to it two manvantaras are devoted. In the third, Pishacho Pramatha of the Asura type evolves. There is much food for thought. In the fourth, Pishacha Pramatha evolves in the full Pramatha Asura, and so on. So in each Manvantara, one type is evolving to the other type until you can come to the actually Devasura even, he mentions here. Pashu Asura, before Asurahood, yes? So these Asuras are quite amazing in a way. There's much to think about them and all these types. So I'm coming back to the Rig Veda. Vritra, most probably I will not be able to touch upon the rishis today because we are a little bit longer with the anti-divine forces. So Vritra and seven rivers. These are quotes from The Secret of the Veda. The seven rivers poured down the hill by Indra after slaying Vritra, the rivers of streams of the truth, Ritas Yadharach, the streams of the dynamic truth. And they represent, according to our theory, the seven principles of conscious being in their divine fulfillment in the truth and bliss. So the Vritra is the one who withholds all the streams of Soma. These are streams of the delight, the truth and bliss, of the delight, of ambrosia, of immortality. And they are withheld by this Vritra, kind of. And Vritra literally means the one who obstructs the flow of the delight. And notice this is the major Asuric quality, not to allow the delight of the divine to be exchanged in the world. So we cannot live the divine free life. We are all become selfish because of Vritra, because the delight is limited. I cannot give my delight away to somebody else, because it's limited. I have only so little delight for myself. I have so little food for myself. I can't give my food to others. Notice the sharing of the food was actually a divine act, and it is still considered to be so in many cultures. In India especially, giving free food is exactly the sign of this. And even in Christianity, when Christ is sharing food, with all the apostles, this sharing food, guests, atithi devo bhava, always food for free to the guest, is that very divine quality, anti-vritra. The delight has to be shared. So this is these streams of delight which the divine is providing. I cannot really read everything. I will leave this at this with Vritra, and I go to the major part of my presentation, Vala and Pani, subconscious cave and karmandriyas, which is more important psychologically for us. The secret of immortality, says Sri Aurobindo, the path that leads to it, was first discovered and laid out by our ancient divine forefathers, Angirasa rishis. With the help of the intuition depicted as Sarama, there is Sarama, hound of heaven, the intuition of Indra, she runs into this lower hemisphere and looks for the hidden treasures. And she comes to the cave, subconscious cave Vala, where Panis are holding our wealth, that very wealth which has to be shared with all. And with the help of the will of Agni and the word of Brahaspati and supreme bliss of Soma, these are all the godheads who are coming to rescue the wealth. These divine ancestors, Angirasa rishis, discovered the divine light of supreme or superconscious truth hidden in the cave of the subconscious darkness. It was kept there by the forces of darkness and had to be released by the divine interference and conquest. So, by destroying the enclosure of the subconscious cave, Vala, literally enclosure, they found the luminous herds, the dawn and the sun and new heaven hidden in the cave. And by slaying Panis, the traffickers, Panis can be translated as traffickers, or traders. They're always trading, always exchanging good for good, because it's limited. I have to give you this, but you have to give me back something. I cannot give you without asking anything back in return. It's not in accordance with our law of existence. So we are constantly exchanging. That's why Mother says, when we sold our free will to the power of money, we lost our freedom. Because that was exactly that, exchange, good for good, eye for eye. There is constantly counting what is being done to be balanced, because we are all separated. We do not have the flow of the divine truth and bliss throughout. I cannot just flow with it like nature does. Nature gives, only gives. So these are traffickers. They are all the time trafficking and selling out.
I have a
These
quick
are,
question.
yeah,
I don't want to interrupt. I know you have a lot of things to say, but a quick question. If they're also the senses, right? Um,
yeah, karmendrias, yes.
Karmendriyas, yeah.
Senses of action, yeah.
Yeah. So how are the senses doing this trafficking? I didn't understand. I mean, they are only taking from the environment the sensory input, but what are they putting out? What are they trading?
Yeah, it's a good question. Huh? If I would know the answer, I would give you. um, but let us think together. We always find the answer if we
Yes.
think.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I never thought of it, what they are really trafficking. They're trafficking what they steal. Yeah, they steal our superconscious light, truth, ambrosia, soma, everything what comes to us as a divine gift. They store into their own, and start selling it. For example, I received some knowledge or some glimpse. What do I do with it? Yeah, I go and write a book and publish it 100,000 and get a lot of money and become rich and buy a house and this and that. And than that, I become very proud of myself. I go around and say how great I am, that others should know who I am. Yes? So I'm selling it out.
But then people are buying that book and they're reading that book and they are also getting that knowledge.
Yeah, there is a light there. They
Yeah.
they sold it, but I bought the house. The light went, yes, the light went as a currency somewhere, yeah. And then the other guy saw that light in that book, took it as this formation in the quotation into his book, and sold it even a million copies, and bought many more houses. So this is how this light is being kind of used for selfish purposes. And Mother says somewhere very beautifully about receptivity, which is maybe relevant here. She says receptivity is not about being only open to the light, but also being responsible to use that light for what it came. So if you invoked it for one particular transformation and you received help, and then you start trading it for other things, this is where panis come in. Panis are word speaking, we are always trading through speech, and action, hands. Yeah, we are always trading through making it work, creating some things, building, and then legs and procreatory and excretory organ. Procreatory, we procreate, we make many children at least. Something we do with that. So useful. So here we are. I wanted to read to you one passage, and maybe here I will stop because I don't think I can go on forever. The passage which gives us actually an overview of all these forces. Yeah, I mentioned the other passage which was quite dark, but this one is quite beautiful. How these forces have to be overcome, what they are. Here, panis are mentioned, night, everyone. A voice in the heart uttered the unspoken name. A dream to our course, of seeking thought, wandering through space, entered the invisible and forbidden house. That house, subconscious cave, the treasure was found of a supernal day. In the deep subconscient glowed her jewel lamp. Lifted, it showed the reaches of the cave, where, by the miser traffickers of sense, here they are, miser traffickers of sense organs, yeah? Um, unused, it cannot be used by them. They don't know, they can only sell it. Guarded beneath night's dragon paws, in folds of velvet darkness draped they sleep, whose priceless value could have saved the world, but they keep it away. A darkness carrying morning in its breast looked for the eternal wide returning gleam, waiting the advent of a larger ray and rescue of the lost herds of the sun. These are the herds to be rescued from that cave. In a splendid extravagance of the waste of God, dropped carelessly in creation's spent thrift work, stolen by the robbers of the deep. These are the panis. The golden shackles of the eternal lie, hoarded from touch and view and thought's desire, locked in blind entrails of the ignorant flood, lest man should find them and be even as gods. Because this is our rescue, actually. And then, this is very beautiful end of this passage. A vision lightened on the viewless heights, a wisdom illumined from the voiceless depths, a deeper interpretation, greatened truth, a grand reversal of the night and day. These are night and days we spoke, or heaven and earth. All the world's values changed, heightening life's aim. A wiser word, a larger thought came in. That is Indra's and Brihaspati's action upon this cave. Then what the slow labor of human mind can bring. Oh, sorry, then, that is the comparison. A wiser word, a larger thought came in, then what the slow labor of human mind can bring. A secret sense awoke that could perceive a presence and the greatness everywhere. The universe was not now this senseless world, borne round inert on an immense machine. It cast away its grandiose, lifeless front, a mechanism no more, or work of chance, but a living movement of the body of God. This is what we have to achieve, yes? To remove those shackles, and to remove those traders, traffickers, misers of the sense, which are withholding the divine flood of truth and light and rivers. We should not be counting all the time, what is plus and minus, balance sheet. We have to be free to live and to enjoy and to fly and to gift. We have to be free, gifting the delight of the divine to the divine everywhere. So these are those misers of sense who are within us, who know that it's very difficult to survive, that we have to hold on to whatever we achieve. We have to make use of it. We should not squander something. We have to hold on to our properties, multiply them, make everything work. We are very clever. Yeah. how to manage things.
But
We
then
learn.
again, it's a
Yeah.
delight to give. Such a delight to give. You feel so happy when you just give selflessly.
Yes. And that is that inner delight of being true. Yeah. there's- Of course, you can give it with strings attached. So- and extend your selfish presence everywhere. All those donors who are going around donating, their names and tablets are everywhere written that they donated for this institute or that institute. So we are mixed. You see what a mixture we are. We have both in us. And that is coming back to, yeah, pity. Well, maybe next time I will come to the rishis and I will start with this quotation, which is the most beautiful in the secret of the Veda. So here we are. We are both of these. Here, mixture. Constant, ongoing selection of what to be. To be or not to be.
Yes.
That is the question. To be is up, not to be is down.
So consciousness plays such a big part. It is everything. How conscious we are of being,
Yeah.
to just to give, to dwell in that delight of giving, of being, of just being
It's,
selfless.
yeah, it's such a delightful knowledge, having
Mm.
which everything can become real again. You don't need to be afraid because the divine is everywhere. We are afraid that the divine is not everywhere.
It's so important to have this knowledge which you just shared, because otherwise we have a very general knowledge. Okay, this is good, this is bad, this is desirable, this is undesirable. But when you know the details, like how you shared all these anti-divine forces, for instance, or the panis, or the vritras, I mean, what the details of these influences in our life are, that knowledge is important, how they impact, because then we can reject, then we can see it come. It helps towards building consciousness, I feel. I'm talking about myself,
Yeah,
because if I know these powers, how they're affecting me, then I can reject to some extent, the influence that will obstruct the light, or you know work towards the light. It's
yeah,
important, very important, to have this knowledge, rather than just a generic idea. People have a generic idea,
Mm.
but
yeah,
and of course Sri Aurobindo explains it so beautifully in Savitri, the portions that you read from Ashwapati's yoga. I mean, it's so beautifully explained. But even though I've read Savitri, I didn't really understand it till this very minute when you explained the meaning of these passages. How he's taken the Vedic imagery,
mm.
and then Savitri, reading of Savitri becomes very experiential.
Yeah, he couldn't explain this until he found the Vedas, actually. He says he didn't have the language to explain his experiences because how can you speak about these forces? Yeah?
Yeah,
How? In
yeah,
what way? So you
yeah,
need some kind of image, some
yeah.
symbol, something. And Vedas already made it for him. So he saw that it works. It's
Yeah.
very difficult to create this. Yeah?
Mhm. Yeah.
So he used the Vedic imagery, right? And he says that these anti-divine forces, especially Panis, they are not enemies. There are enemies also. There are
Mhm.
enemies of the divine in the darkness. But
Mhm.
these Panis, which are our senses of action, are not enemies.
Mhm.
They just don't know how to give. because they learned to survive in this dangerous world, not to be the food for somebody else.
Yeah.
Because of that, they
Yeah.
preserve. They don't know what is giving. Yeah,
Yeah.
they always withhold. They hold for themselves, our bodies. Notice how they are shrinking every time. Yeah.
Mm.
So in a way,
That's,
it is understandable.
yes, that's the self-survival instinct we have.
Mhm.
You know, we look at the world outside as a threat to existence, and we want to hold within us whatever we have. Yeah, that's why I often,
Especially body is separate entity. Yeah?
yeah,
Body is a separate meat which has to be taken care of. You
yeah,
have to give food to it,
yes,
right food,
yeah,
medicine, everything.
Oh.
So yeah.
Hmm. What you
So
were talking about,
yeah.
Vladimir, in the beginning reminded me of a myth that the Inuit Indians up in north of Canada and Alaska have, and that was the caribou. When the first creation happened, there were the caribou, and there weren't any other animals around, and the caribou started to get sick, and they became unhealthy. So I guess I forget exactly how the conversation went, but anyhow, um, they started getting unhealthy. So then the creator created the wolf, and the wolf fed off the caribou, and they made the caribou herd healthy, because there's this interplay between life and death, and you have to do something to survive. And so that's how the caribou herd became very healthy again.
Yeah, it's a well-known thing of what you're saying. Even there was an experiment somewhere in US or Canada that the whole forest was the rivers dried out, lakes became swamps, and then they brought the pack of wolves, and the whole region came to life, rivers, lakes, because they kind of created healthy flocks of deers and this and that, and their whole life came. The deers ate everything, all the trees, all the leaves, all the bark in winter. So they destroyed the forests came back, the rivers came back, birds. The few wolves created the whole region and back. So this balance of things, yeah. And also progress, constant progress. Anti-divine forces are pushing us to progress. Shurbindo
Everything
was,
works.
yeah,
Oh, sorry. I
yeah,
was just going to say, the way you were saying how everything works in nature together so beautifully. Um, it's beyond understanding, at least to me, when I
yeah,
see how everything so perfectly works together. And of course, we humans, we've come in and we've caused quite a disturbance.
right.
And I always
Close
wonder
what is wood.
how can we live in such a way that we don't disturb this perfect harmony that exists in nature.
Yeah, for us it's difficult because we are mental beings. We already choose what is right and what is wrong. We have to come to the higher level, yeah, where everything is a flood of the divine. We started to understand already. There are many movements in the world to restore nature's balance, and there are, of course, rascals and rakshasas are everywhere, like Putin or some Russia, or China. They cut the whole this Siberian forests, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of hectares of wood. Yeah, that virgin woods were cut, trees, and sold for money and for greed, for useless wars and weapons and God knows what. This Rakshasic anti-divine is rising to destroy our earth, to destroy us with it, yeah, because it is afraid, and it is happy to start again from zero, yeah, and be the king in that kingdom rather than to have some higher species. Yeah? But it will only help us, push us forward faster to grow and to discover
Yeah.
the truth. And it is not always what it seems. Many times we are judging the things by the past. Yeah, it's what we call statistics. Statistics is always wrong because it is judging what has happened, what is happening now by the past. Yeah, in the past it was like this, now it will be like this. Yeah, no, because we are evolving and developing, so we are constantly changing. For example, with this warming problem of so it's quite interesting with this with too much CO2, the plants started to grow faster.
Mhm.
This is something we didn't think about. We thought we are just creating this effect, but in Norway there are already there's so much greenery. You can cut the grass 3 times a year. Before it was only one time you could cut grass. Now grass grows in a month here also because there is a lot of CO2 in the air and plants are actually cleaning up. The earth is made in such a way that greenery, when there is disbalance with CO2, it starts consuming it and producing oxygen, So we are cutting the greenery and greenery grows faster. So the earth knows how to save us in spite of us. So everything is amazing. It's amazingly arranged. So I don't know.
Nature is beautiful.
Yeah.
Nature is beautiful. Now they've stopped China and Japan eating the whales and the dolphins. They've introduced the wolves back into Yellowstone National Park,
Oh
and
yeah, that is the story.
they have
Yeah.
introduced them, and they are now again bringing the buffalo, the bison, everything is flourishing now.
You
It's
see,
to
nature has to provide a buffalo for wolves also. So it will think how to do it. That the right buffaloes will be there for wolves. Yeah. Wolves cannot live without buffaloes, so they are needed. They will come back.
yeah.
They,
In the
they will
Amazon,
run faster.
yes, in the Amazon, they have stopped them from cutting the trees. They were, uh,
Yeah,
polluting the
somebody
air.
even I forgot, from Sweden, some multimillionaire bought the huge land of Amazon and prohibited any cutting of the trees. It's his property now. You cannot come there. It's a good move. Actually, many more millionaires should do this actually, to preserve, buy the whole Siberia and stop any cutting. Yeah, so this is again anti-divine force, money force, which is changing because this exchange between light and darkness, selfishness and unselfishness is constantly ongoing, which creates the whole progress forward. Yeah. So both are needed. It's amazing how divine created the darkness to be needed for the evolution of consciousness. Right, okay, we can stop here and then we meet for our last meeting next time.
Vladimir,
Yeah.
can you send a copy of this so that I can print it out,
Sure, I will.
please? Yeah, I have a binder. I'm putting all of this in.
Sure, they are all also in the folder for you. Are they in the folder for you? No, I have a folder for you. The whole folder. It is called. No, I don't have. I will create and I will put all the PowerPoint presentations there, so you can always take from there whenever you need. But I will send this, yes, immediately.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Guru Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Ariel.